Hey everybody, it's Lou. I spent the morning doing something that probably seems odd or unusual to people, but I was watching discussions about the concept of the dark night of the soul. I was struck by the fact that I read that Mother Teresa of Calcutta spent 50 years of her life doing what she did, which was remarkable work, but always struggled with her faith. She was always having a spiritual and intellectual crisis. And I thought that's a really, really phenomenal thing to hear about someone that's considered a saint by most of the world. And the more I looked into this, I started reading psychologists and listening to people talk on the subject of what happens when we go into a crisis of our own confidence, our own personality, a spiritual crisis. And there's a concept by a Dr. May, who talked about a corporate dark night of the soul, where the entire community has a crisis, and it has to resolve that crisis by going through some difficult experiences, by doing some really by taking a hard look at itself. And interestingly enough, it's usually not technology that brings the culture out of that. It's going to be the community itself pulling together. And the idea that you can find yourself moving around a certain element of the community, whether it's a community garden or some form of community communication, tends to bring people out of that crisis, or at least begins to bring them out of it. And I think that's a fascinating concept for cities and places to consider. So I wanted to just leave that with any of you who are experiencing a dark night of the soul, whether personally or culturally. There's always a way out, and it's usually done. You usually experience it to experience the light at the end. And that's the other common factor of these things. So anyway, this is Lou reminding you that there really is no place like home. Take care.